Hi, and welcome to KBVR-TV. I'm Jacob Wolf, the guy you probably don't remember from the Challenger's Wild Wild West episode. So here's a quick reminder. You know what? Raise them.
You're going all in? Go all in.
All in.
All in.
Why not?
Oh.
Yep.
Oh my. I just keep looking at Jacob and he has like no idea what's going on.
I've got no clue, man. No clue.
All right. Show me. Okay.
I got a stick figure. Cowboy.
Cowboy's right. Cowboy's correct.
Well, I'm back after that shameful defeat, and now I'm calling the shots as the host of Time Trials. Welcome. So KBVR decided to do a 48-hour challenge, and the 48-hour challenge was from conception of script to final cut. These teams had 48 hours to make of something. They had two requirements, one line of dialogue, and one item they had to include in their film. Here today with me, I have 3 of the 4 group members from the production team that produced The Barn. Kevin, go ahead and start us off and introduce yourselves.
I am Kevin Colwell. I am the director, and also we do have one more actor who's not here with us today, Shramanyu Ganapathanidi, who is back home, and this is where he would be. He's back home in India right now.
He's with us in spirit.
Yeah, he's here. He's here in spirit.
Hi, my name is Alessandra Friso. I was an actress in the short film The Barn.
I'm Joshua Gasway, and I was an actor in The Barn.
So we have a really cool short film, and you know what, we're just gonna go ahead and jump into it. So it's 5 minutes, and go ahead and enjoy. Sit back and relax.
Going. Don't stop.
Hello there, miss. I think I'm a little bit lost.
Trail's up that way.
Yes, I know that, but
Put your back into it.
I'm just looking for my campsite.
Camp Willow? About 10 miles up the road. How many times do I have to tell you? Don't quit digging.
10 miles? I'll never make it there before night. Is there any place closer that I could stay?
Nothing for miles around here.
Oh. I hate to ask. Do you think I could maybe spend the night here? I could help him with whatever he's digging for?
He doesn't need help.
Maybe I could just...
Listen, I guess you can stay in the barn tonight. I'll take you into town in the morning.
That's fantastic. Thank you.
One rule. Don't talk to him.
Hey man, do you plan on stopping anytime soon? I plan on getting some sleep. What are you digging for anyway?
I'm not supposed to talk to you.
Why not?
She hasn't trained me yet.
What are you talking about?
You're not supposed to be here. It's not safe. Not safe.
Not safe? What?
She's
Hey.
here. Leave this place.
What did I tell you about talking to him? You just had to come here asking questions. He was gonna let you go in the morning. Now I don't know what he's told you.
You didn't tell me anything.
You have no right coming here messing with my business.
Oh, God! Come on! Go, 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 go! Hey, look, there's somebody out there. Hey! Help! 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 Hey! Help us! Oh my God!
Keep going. Don't stop.
So, really loved that short video. Really well done. Congratulations, guys. Thank you for participating in the challenge as well. It's great to have you guys do that.
Yeah, thank you.
So I really want to talk about the creativity, but first I want to go over the 2 requirements that we had for this group. We had 1 line of dialogue, which was, how many times do I have to tell you? And then we had 1 short, or 1 item that they had to implement, and it was the sleeping bag. So let's talk about your process. You got this and you had 48 hours to do an entire short film from conception of the script to final cut. Like, how was that for you guys? What was going through your heads in that 48 hours?
Yeah, so I arranged to get the line and the prop sent to me at 9 a.m. Saturday morning. And I arranged for my actors to meet me at my house at 10 a.m. So I got the line and the prop, and I got to kind of sit alone with it for like an hour.
Yeah.
And in that hour, I kind of, I had the location of the barn already in my head that I'd been thinking about. And so I kind of fleshed out the main story points of the hikers encountering the barn and this mysterious woman being there. And then once they got there, we kind of finished fleshing out the story and kind of refined the points.
And so just to clarify, like, you took on the role as the director and the producer for this. Like, this was your
Yes,
kind of
yeah.
like, this was your brainchild that you were making. And then Alessandra and Joshua, you 2 were helping them out and acting in this and participating in this. So what was your experience as you were helping Kevin make this happen? Because it's really tight to do something like this. It takes a lot of time to make a short film.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun because like I haven't really done that much film acting before, and like neither of us really have, so it was kind of unique to do that and start like getting into that. But also Kevin was really great to work with because when we got there to flesh it out, he really listened to our input and our design, and like we like all worked together to like make this happen because we had a bunch of like original ideas that we wanted to do that we kind of like couldn't in the time frame, and he was super chill about like helping us work that out. And like, I mean, it was like 90% of his ideas for the story, but like it was a lot of like creative input that helped like round it out at least. So
Yeah. Alessandra?
Yeah, it was super interesting. Like Josh said, neither of us have really done a whole lot of film acting, so it's interesting to get to explore that in a unique environment with such a tight time requirement. Kevin was awesome and had a really basic story ready to go. He, like Josh said, listened to all of our ideas, and there were tons of them. We were just kind of all talking, all having all these ideas, and we had to cut it down. But it was super cool to get to experience acting on film while also participating in creating a story from the outside and learning a little bit about lighting and sound and direction, and it was a lot of fun.
So I know you 2 do a lot of theater and live acting, so how was this different for you going from a scenario where you do a lot of live acting to doing something that you take 20 takes of. Was that a challenge for you? How was that different?
Yeah, it's different in the sense that, you know, you're stopping and starting a lot. So, you know, every time you're acting in theater, you have, you know, an hour or two to live out the story. You don't stop. You are the story. You are the character. You keep going. Film is really different because you have, you know, 5 seconds maybe to say a line, and you cut and you go back and watch it and critique it and see what could be different and do that over and over again. And to be doing that while simultaneously kind of trying to contribute to the bigger aspect of creating a short film as more than just an actor and actress was difficult, but it was a lot of fun. In some ways, I think it helped me be in character more on camera because I was also kind of doing the brain work of how is this all going to come together, how is this looking in the bigger scheme of things in the film and the story.
So it kind of helps you like become more aware of the fact that I'm in and out of character a lot, so I have to really make sure I make this solid and I stay in character in between these shots and the editing.
And also like adding like the 48 hours, made it really interesting because we read the script that day, had to memorize lines and make character choices like on that moment. And it's also a little bit different from live acting because in live acting you're making big boisterous movements and large things so everyone in the audience can see it, whereas this it's the most like minuscule movement will make a huge impact on the camera.
Yeah, just like this simple face change really changes the whole dynamic of the shot and what you're portraying.
I gotta give these guys credit too. I mean, we wrote the script and then they like memorized their lines in like the span of, an hour. After in the span of an hour of giving them the script, they had their lines memorized and it went really smoothly after that. So it was props to them as actors.
Absolutely. I mean, props. That was a great short film. We loved it. The producer really loved the way you guys picked the location and that entry shot and kind of the dynamics in the lighting and the different compositions that you use. So off of that, I want to talk about the location you picked for this. So you had your lines and your item and you kind of were developing something. What made you choose Bald Hill as your location to shoot this?
Yeah, so obviously we couldn't come up with a story before the 48 hours started, but I did pretty much everything else I could do up until that point, including thinking of interesting locations that I wanted to include in the story and planning out certain shots that I thought would be interesting to include. And so when I started thinking about certain locations around Corvallis, Bald Hill kind of stood out to me because I've been there before, and it's outside, so I knew the lighting was going to be good. And so just once we got the idea of the sleeping bag, that obviously has really outdoorsy kind of connotations to it. So the outdoor barn just was like a natural connection.
How about for you two? Like, what did you feel about the location? What was like? Did you like the location that Kevin picked?
Yeah, I loved it. It's beautiful up there. It was fun to act in the wilderness. It was super cool to be in that beautiful setting and be able to, you can see it on film how great it is. So I think that was super cool to be able to come up with a story and then put it in such a really unique and fun location and be a part of that.
Well, it's so dynamic to create your studio wherever you want because you had your sound equipment, your lighting, and your camera, and like you got to create your studio where you were acting, and that's kind of a cool experience.
Yeah.
It was kind of difficult too because we actually shot a bunch of stuff the first day that got cut because of some rewrites due to story things that weren't coming through in the footage, and so we had some stuff that we actually shot underneath the barn, inside, and that footage actually didn't turn out well at all. So that was kind of something that we had to, because the inside of the barn was underexposed and the outside of the barn was overexposed because you can't get both, and so it was just. That was also an interesting challenge that we had to work around because there's not really any shots from underneath the barn besides the one of him unrolling the sleeping bag.
It's also funny because Kevin suggested Bald Hill. I've never been there before, but he immediately follows up with, but there might be a wedding there, so we might not be able to shoot there.
That's true.
So
we were concerned that we would shoot one day and then the next day there would be an event happening because the events happen in that barn on the weekends, and so we were like, if there's something going on, then we can't finish shooting, then what do we do, Luckily that didn't happen, so it all worked out, but.
Well, really cool. So I want to talk about kind of that car scene. It was really cool, very dynamic. You had some great lighting in there between this dark contrast of the outside of the car and then the headlights as they turned on. So What were the challenges with that scene? How did that kind of come to fruition in the production of the film?
Yeah, those were some of the most interesting shots of the movie to make, because this film was shot on a Nikon D3300 with the kit lens, which means you don't get a lot of light.
Sure, it's still a good camera though.
It worked, yeah.
Yeah,
And I was really
we
happy
have a
with
great
some of the
short film.
shots that I got, but it's really hard to shoot at night when
Yeah.
you don't have a lens that can open up very wide. And so actually for those shots of Josh and Shermanyu like limping towards the car, Alessandra is off camera and she's holding up all 4 of our iPhones with the flashlights as bright as they go, just like fanned up, backpedaling
beautiful.
behind me as I worked the steady cam, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah,
Like
it did.
it kind of gives kind of a moonlight kind of vibe, but
Yeah.
like that was the only lighting really that we had. We had a couple flashlights that weren't really working. So yeah, that's 4 iPhone lights. And then obviously we have
That
the
is
headlights of the
gorgeous.
cars. Yeah.
Yeah. So in that scene, you're helping this distraught person escape that's an injured leg.
Yeah.
And then, so what's going through your character's head, and how did you like really embrace that? Because it's kind of a strange thing to, like, you're a hiker, you walk in, and you like all of a sudden it's like get to this barn and you see this person just digging away with a shovel, and that's where you implement that line, like, how many times do we have to tell you? How did you develop that as a character?
Yeah, well, with that part particularly, like after she slams me into the tree, my character's kind of like, oh, this is not going to end well. And so when she gets knocked unconscious, my first thought is to go for like a more of like a panicked, we got to get out of here, like as soon as possible. So when we're limping, it's more of like a hurried, like, okay, maybe she's just be unconscious. But then when like the supernatural comes in, she pops up right behind us. It just turns into a panic. Go, 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 go.
Absolutely.
And then you can hear Shermanyu screaming in the car with that and everything, because like that shot is super creepy. I think after we filmed it and we rewatched it, we all went, ugh.
It's a little eerie, and it really
like
kind of puts shivers down your spine, because it's like all of a sudden you're just there.
That was one of those shots that beforehand I was like, if I can find a way to include that. And I knew kind of the vibe of a film I wanted to make. You know, I wanted to make something creepy and eerie because that's the kind of cinema that I like. And also that's just like one of my worst fears. Like when I'm driving is when I get in my car and turn on the headlights that there's going to be something in front of me that I wasn't expecting. So I was like, obviously if I just put that on camera, it's going to freak people out.
Yeah, that's a little unnerving. So real quick, I want to talk, you have this looping scene that goes from your first entry sequence, and then there's the last section, and it has this beautiful tie-in that kind of loops the whole film together. What was like the big challenge for that? What was the inspiration?
So I got to give Shermanyu a lot of credit for that. So when they got to my house and we started fleshing out the story, eventually the idea of this kind of like cyclical nature of it was introduced by Shermanyu. And so then once we're thinking, oh, that's an interesting idea, if it's this kind of, you know, circular type of thing, then naturally in my head I was like, oh, well then if we duplicated that first shot, that would be a really interesting way to bring the story full circle.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to thank you for Alessandra and Joshua for joining us this week. They have to run off to a play rehearsal. So we're going to cut to a short break, and we'll be back, and Kevin and I will talk about kind of the creative content that he came up with. So we'll see you in a bit.
Audio, man, it's It's in the air. It's the fluctuations that vibrate our ear holes and make the cochlea sensitive, you know. You can't ignore it, and you try to start measuring it, and it just pulls you in. Well, I used to try to play music on my own, make the sounds from my own hands and instruments. Then I started recording. Upon hearing myself in my recordings, I decided I should just record. When you're a young adult who is serious about pursuing media as a career or even a side hustle, a lot of people won't take you seriously. OMN is cool because not only will they take you seriously, they'll push you and they'll give you all the tools to really try to do something special with it and let you be creative about it. And so that's what's been special about OMN to me. I'm Sam Lay, and I'm a student engineer at Orange Media Network.
Located on your airwaves, outside your classrooms, and on the 4th floor of the Student Experience Center, Orange Media Network is home to Oregon State University's national award-winning student media organization. Hundreds of OSU students from all majors and experience levels create content and make content decisions for 7 media platforms, including a newspaper, 3 magazines, a radio station, a TV station, and online. OMN students strive to change the world by elevating diverse student voices, challenging views, and empowering the community to build a better world.
Welcome back. So I have Kevin here with me, and we're going to talk a little bit about the creativity of how you kind of came up with this, the conception, and then some of the challenges I want to talk about and what you did differently. So first of all, what made you want to enter the 48-hour challenge and find a crew and make that happen?
Yeah, so I've known I wanted to direct since I was like 15.
Yeah.
And I've done a lot of video production work and a lot of behind the scenes like camera stuff, and documentary type of thing. So this was my first like dipping my toe into actually working with actors.
Yeah.
And so earlier in the spring, I connected with the actors that I had for the film through Liz Hellman. I sent her an email saying, hey, I'm a student looking to direct his first short film. Do you have any students who would be interested? And I got a bunch of responses, and these are the ones who stood out to me. And then I heard about the challenge several weeks later when I was already planning on doing a short film. So when I heard about the challenge, I knew exactly who to call. So it was like kind of a no-brainer to be like, hey guys, you want to do it for this instead of just
so
on our own.
you already had that team, and you already had a little bit of a chemistry
It
going.
was definitely an advantage to already have those guys in my back pocket who I knew wanted to participate. I didn't have to find anybody new.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, you guys did have a great group chemistry, and it was a great short film. And creatively, what are some of your inspirations for some of the cool shots you took? Because there's some lens flare in there, and there were some interesting shots with the barn, and you can see the barn, the frame in front of you as you're kind of panning, towards the hiker.
In terms of the overall like mood of the film, I knew that I wanted to make something creepy and kind of eerie, and I'm not a big fan of like horror, but the cinema of like kind of unsettling. I really like David Lynch movies. He does a really good job of like just kind of like making you feel uncomfortable in the seat, and that's kind of the vibe I was going for.
So you're not really going for like a jump scare, but you're going for like a kind of ominous vibe that kind of gets underneath your skin a little.
Right.
Just something a little gritty.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, I think you definitely got that with those dark car scenes, because like my first reaction was like, oh, whoa, that's a little much. Like, that's creepy to just have like someone there in front of your car when you turn your headlights on.
It's a very real like fear that could happen.
Yeah, no, it's definitely something that you don't sleep at night sometimes thinking about that.
And I didn't want to like explain it too much. I mean, obviously you only have so much time to flesh out a story.
5 and 10 minutes to really
that
make this
worked. Also, not explaining things very well, but I like to leave things open for the viewer to kind of make their own interpretation about like, was she a ghost? Was she just really fast? Was she, how did she move from location to location? I like to leave it and let the audience make their own assumptions about things.
Well, I mean, my first thought was like, there's obviously some supernatural element there. Like, there's something that, because obviously a person's not going to go from in front of your car to like 50 feet down the road like
Right.
that. You know, it's
The hints of supernatural find their way into a lot
Yeah.
of my work, whether it's, you know, writing or film or anything like that. It's something I really enjoy incorporating.
So I talk about a couple of the challenges. So what was the biggest challenge you faced making this short film? Because, you know, normally a short film, you have as much time as you need. You could spend 100 hours on it easily. You could spend, you know, days and weeks making this. So how was it in 48 hours to make something that was 5 minutes and make it look as good as it did? Because it was fairly seamless. Like, all your transitional shots were there. It had a good ending, a good, you know, beginning, that looping end, cap, and beginning were fantastic to really tie everything together.
Yeah, so definitely the biggest challenge was we sat down the first morning, Saturday, and the plan was to shoot all of the day stuff, and then my actors would go home for a little bit, and then they'd come back, and then we'd shoot the night stuff, and then I would have all of Sunday and into Monday morning to edit. And that didn't happen because we went and shot a bunch of day stuff, and then my actors left and went home for their break, and I sat down to start editing, and it was just garbage. Like, it just wasn't coming together at all. And so they came back at night, and I was like, guys, we gotta do some rewriting here, because like the subtle elements of the original story that we were going with were not showing through in the footage. So then they had to come back the next day and do reshoots, and so the time frame was compressed even further after that. And then I basically stayed up all night editing it to get it in Monday morning.
Oh yeah. Editing can take up so much time.
It definitely took like longer than I was expecting.
Always does.
Yeah.
So, working with actors, this is your first time working with actors, right?
Yes. Yeah.
How was that? What was the challenge? Like, what was the biggest challenge that you found with acting with, you know, live people?
They were really great. I mean, they acted like professionals, and because they are professionals, you know, it's so when they got the script that I had rewritten for the second day, you know, they had it all memorized super quickly, and that second day flowed so much more seamlessly than the first day, because they had time to do their thing, you know, and be actors and make the interpretations rather than just like me, you know, deliver your line, cut, deliver your line, cut. It was more, the way we did it is we shot each scene 3 times from 3 different angles, you know, one from each side and then the one 50-50. And so they really got, instead of cutting in between each line, they just got to do the scene all the way through, and I think that helped a lot.
Yeah, that's really, really powerful to be able to work with people and make that happen. Well, that is all the time we have for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Time Trials. Join us next week as we review another team's short video and talk to them about their successes and challenges. If you want to see more of our content, check out our website and KBVR-TV on YouTube. Thank you, and we hope to see you next week.